Series, and it is a serious World Series this year. The NBA kicks off and comes in like a lion this week, and we're going to be doing some cool stuff NBA related here in the coming weeks as well. We welcome in the author of Michael Jordan, The Life for Little Brown, as well as the new book on Kobe Bryant. This guy writes a lot about the NBA. He's down in Roanoke, Virginia. He's written a couple of books on Kobe Bryant. The latest is a book called Showboat, The Life of Kobe Bryant. We welcome Roland Lazenby in, author, NBA fan, and, chronicler, really, of all things Kobe Bryant. First off, welcome in, and congratulations on getting another book done. I've only written 4 books. I know you've written more than that. Anytime you put one of these books into your hands, I'm a dude. I'll never have a child, but it's the closest I'm going to come, right?
Well, I'll tell you, sometimes I feel like that I'm pregnant and I've given birth. These things are, as you well know, they are a lot of stress, Nestor. They can be tough, but I'm glad this one's there. I like to study great competitors and sort of see what's going on with them.
Well, what moves you to write a book? It's always my first question with any author because, in all the books that I've written, 2 of them started as a series of blogs and sort of a white paper and gone crazy. And the other 2 were, there were parades in the city here, and I'm a writer, and it's kind of what I do, and I want to ask the why. So those things were sitting in front of me, but it is a moment of craziness where you decide, all right, I'm going to do a book on this, and then actually do it. A lot of people beer talk. You know that, right? But, to actually go through with it and do it, it's a whole different deal.
It is, and that's a fascinating question. Motivations are complicated. There are all kinds of things that drive people. One of the things I discovered in writing The Life of Michael Jordan is how much he was driven just by the smallest amount of parental disapproval from his father. And so here's a guy basically spending his life sticking it in the face of his old man. Never mind that he had forgotten long why he was irritated in the first place, and the father had long given up on being irritated.
That's a familiar theme, though. Springsteen just wrote a book about that, too, right? It really is.
Yes.
Well, and in the case of Kobe Bryant, he had a different kind of father, right? He had a father that had some fame and some fortune and all that stuff, and this isn't your first go-round with him, right? You have found him fascinating from the very beginning.
It's true. And Kobe had a father who was an NBA first-round draft pick. A guy who was adored, a happy-go-lucky guy who was right out of Philadelphia, who was loved in his neighborhood, and everyone came out to see him play on the playground. And Kobe Bryant was probably the diametric opposite of that. He's a guy who's aloof. He's driven to insane levels, and he just wanted to dominate in every way possible. It's like he told me when he was 19, I just want to be the man. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I got to find a way.
Well, he certainly found it. Roland Lazenby is our guest. The book is Showboat, The Life of Kobe Bryant. So run me through this. You decide to do this book at the end. Obviously, the NBA is coming back now. The book is out and available on Amazon. You can go to our Give a Spit app and learn more about that and purchase there as well. But in chronicling now the life of him, there's the on the court, there's the off the court. And look, every week there's a story. Last week it was Josh Brown about, fellas and ladies, and having problems, and no one's was more famous or more well played out than Kobe Bryant's issues in Colorado.
Right, and it was sort of the culmination, or it was the arc of this whole period in Kobe Bryant's life where he was just doing tremendous damage to himself. It was painful for the people in the Lakers organization to watch it. He threw his parents out of his life. Literally almost in a day. He sold the house they were living in out from under them, shut down the business where all his family members worked. And this was a family that was, in love with him. And he eventually gets rid of his coach and the people around him, his agent, the shoe company, Sonny Vaccaro, the shoe guy, who was the guy who really put Kobe in the NBA, said he was like the Russians with the Romanovs. He got rid of everybody.
Well, yeah, and Sonny's been a guest on my show many, many times. Many people.
Right.
Kobe's been at this for 2.5 decades now. There's plenty of stories out there about him. In unearthing his life and trying to put it, it's complex. It really is.
It is tremendously complex. The one thing that sort of provided the continuity in all of it is this tremendous will. It's the thing he most shared with Michael Jordan. And after he destroyed his life, Tiger Woods did a lot of damage to himself. He's still trying to put it back together. But Kobe, through a combination of that will and the good fortune of Pau Gasol coming to the Lakers, he was able to put it back together. And so will is the driving and determining part of this, the perfectionism that goes with it. These great competitors, they are very, very different cats.
So in putting the book together and in getting information on this, give me a little background into the research side of this. I mean, here's a guy who's been very, very well chronicled at a very high level in the era of the internet and the era of HD as well, right?
Right. Well, yes and no. No one had ever interviewed his AAU coach. And so, Kobe played 20-some high school games a year, but he played dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of AAU games. And so a big part of it was talking to the people in AAU. A huge part of it was talking that Sonny Vaccaro spent hours with me explaining this moment in history, because Kobe was the guy. Sonny Vaccaro explained it was his most clandestine thing as this sort of matchmaker, kingmaker in basketball. He gave Kobe this guaranteed contract that induced him to turn pro. He kicked Kobe's parents, who badly needed the money, $300,000 over 2 years on the side. And he set up the whole thing. Sonny drove the whole thing because, as Sonny explained, he wanted revenge against his former employer, Nike. And he wanted revenge against the NCAA. He wanted to take the ultimate star of amateur basketball and show him that he could go pro immediately and make money.
Well, and that was not all that unusual. The unusual part, I guess, at that point was how successful he was. Many, many guys have been the man on their playground at 17 or 18 or 19 and find out that when they get to the NBA, there are bigger men there.
Yeah, Sonny had trouble finding people to turn pro right out of high school. Now, Kevin Garnett did it, but it was not based on a shoe deal. Kevin Garnett did it the year before Kobe because he didn't think he was going to qualify academically. Ultimately, he did, but by then it was too late. He had already committed. But there wasn't the shoe money making this happen. And Kobe Bryant was the first. And then the next year, Sonny Vaccaro got Tracy McGrady, and he was going in, and these elite players really, in terms of economics, were ready to, the market was there for them. Where the problems came in is that the NBA in the mid-90s was still very much a man's game. Today it's much younger. And so Kobe Bryant in particular, because he was so aloof, had that really difficult time adjusting because he was so driven, and his teammates, who were much older, didn't know how to handle it.
He is Roland Lazenby. The book is Showboat, The Life of Kobe Bryant. You wrote a book about him like 15 years ago, right? Mad Game, right?
I did.
And so you found him to be fascinating. Did you think you were going to write a second book about him?
I didn't, but, I'd done a variety of projects for years, and I got into writing biography, a definitive biography, where you're really looking at the person in terms of culture, in terms of family background. I did it with Jerry West for ESPN Books. I did it on Michael for Little Brown, and now Kobe. I did a Phil Jackson bio back in 2000 for McGraw-Hill. And it's always looking at these intensely competitive personalities. I had the benefit in that Tex Winter, who was Phil Jackson's assistant coach, he coached Michael Jordan longer than anyone. He was Kobe Bryant's mentor. Tex Winter and I were very close over the years, and he basically talked frankly with me for years, literally every week, about his experiences, and it these very competitive personalities and to write about them.
You wrote about Johnny Unitas at one point, right? I mean, The Best There Ever Was. That book came out right around the time we lost Johnny, right?
It was, and that was basically mostly a juvenile book. I've written the text for a lot of photography books. And, there'll be a collection of photographs, more like a picture biography or a quick explanation, and I've done a variety of those.
Well, that's kind of cool, man. Roland Lazenby, you can follow him out on Twitter at Lazenby and pick up the book Showboat, The Life of Kobe Bryant. By and large, in finding people to say good things or bad things about Kobe Bryant, at this point, what happens to the rest of his life, right? We've seen Magic Johnson and how that played out, Larry Bird's journey, and, and obviously, the O.J. Simpsons of the world who were famous for other things. Obviously, Kobe Bryant got himself into trouble early, as did Ray Lewis here in Baltimore, and kind of learned life's lessons kind of the hard way. There's a lot of life left and a lot of money there. What do guys that dribble do to stay competitive when they're that competitive after they're done?
Well, it always raises fascinating questions. Kobe, I think, has planned for this a while. First, as a kid, he loved to write. He, about a decade ago, he had the foresight to create a couple of media companies, one that deals in packages with advertising, another that's sort of a film unit. And he looks at this whole business. He's exploring all of his media options and plans to do a lot of writing. This whole idea of branding as a narrative, the moment he scored that 60-point game, he had all of that memorabilia on sale with Mamba out already there. I mean, it was almost like he had stored up the whole way that terrible season to unleash it for that final game. He had all the $20,000 jackets and all those items ready for sale. Kobe Bryant is a piece of work.
Well, and the book is Showboat. We'll look forward to reading it. Roland, great having you on, man. I know you left Virginia Tech a couple years ago. You're easily Googleable as well as Twitterable, and I know you're watching the NBA. Hey, nothing like to see in this Warriors team, right? And, after what happened to them last year and where they are right now, and the LeBron James story, he's another fascinating character for you, right?
He is. Phil Jackson brought in a psychologist for both the same psychologist for Jordan and Kobe to help them have empathy for their teammates because they're so driven and so hard on people. And they have to do a lot of work to do that. And LeBron has all that ability. He's a very competitive guy. But, he already has that empathy built in. And so it'll be interesting to see if he can pull this team together and take on that great Warriors team. It's going to be a fascinating thing as it plays out.
Always great to visit with you. You can find him out anywhere books are sold. Roland Lazenby, that's Lazenby. His last name is his Twitter. You can find me out in the Bio Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. Becoming crystal clear. Our morning newspaper ships digitally to you in your morning email at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. And last but never least, breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis will be here on Thursday, driving you home, getting you ready for the weekend of Thursday Night Football. Watching baseball, waiting on football. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.